Good morning, everyone. It's 8:07 right now, and it's time to start with the English meeting for English teachers in the state of Nuevo León. It is with great pleasure that we are here, Ms. Silvia Chavez, Ms. Berta Guerrero, and me, Noemí Medellín, to see you again through these means and to share with you some information that will help you enhance your teaching practice. Today, and before we start, I would like you to, Ms. Daria Elizondo, head of the Department of Secondaries in the state of Nuevo León, is sending you her very best and greetings to all of you, as well as Ms. Judy Aleida Rodriguez Garcia, who is our boss right here in this coordination of secondaries. Both of them send their very best, okay? And now, getting back to business, let's start with the presentation we have prepared for you. Step-by-step planning in English, okay? If you have any questions regarding the topic we're gonna follow throughout these 2 hours, please tell us, put it in the chat so we can answer them at the final part of the session or later on, okay? So, what is the purpose of the Zoom meeting today? Well, the purpose of the meeting is to share information related to how to plan step-by-step in the new Mexican school, okay? And to give some suggestions to work with the English textbooks that will arrive or that have arrived to your school. Remember that in our first session, I spoke to you about the 3 types of the book of projects, the book that has many readings, and the other book that is known about saberes, okay, that are by formative field, and I talked to you about them. But in this case, there are English books that are going to be sent or are already in your school today, but they are from the 2017 program. And we're going to share some suggestions to work with them, okay? So those are essentially the 2 purposes of our meeting today. First of all, let me tell you what you have. What you have is the synthetic program, the analytical program. You have already known by the Ministry of Education and by the State Ministry of Education, the PBL stages. Then we created a quick view of the PBL stages, and we put some characteristics of each stage, what to do in each stage. Then we had the textbooks that Ministry of Education of the nation sent us. You also have lots of creativity, and that's a plus for you as teachers. We also have experience because you are in front of the school. You are operating this new Mexican school program. Also, you have a BA in English. You have your degree by Normal Superior or by the university, but you have a degree in English that is also a plus. You also have support from your principal and the inspector or supervisor of your zone, because you can talk to them and ask them, well, I need this. Can you help me with this? They will support you. I know they will. We also have Facebook Inglés, which is a community of teachers that share their experience by implementing or by putting pictures or video on Facebook Red Eyes, uploading them. so you see and get new ideas on how to work, okay? English teachers are very helpful, okay? We also have our colleagues in our school, which is very important because we can share our doubts and our questions and tell me, how do you do this? I'm having trouble with this. Can you help me, please? So English colleagues are also a plus in all the array of things that we have to improve our teaching practice. And we also have the knowledge. The knowledge given us by our studies, the Normal Superior of the university, and the knowledge given us by the experience, which is very important as a teacher, okay? So all that array of things we have, and they are like, they support us in our teaching practice, okay? We're gonna start on the step-by-step how to plan in the New Mexican School, okay? We have the analytical program, okay? In the analytical program, what is the analytical program? Well, it's a non-administrative format. By this, we mean that it's a working paper, a working document, okay? It's not to fill it out and just leave it there in the principal's office and forget about it. No, it's a working paper that we have to read and reread and see in our meetings of school councils every month or every 2 months according to what is planned by Mexico, okay? So the analytical program is you build it up and you rebuild it and you change it and you, not change it, but you adjust it all through the school year, all right? The PA, analytical program, organizes some actions you have for the school. Where does this analytical program emerge from? Well, the analytical program emerges from the analysis, reflection, selection, and organization that we as teachers did in the school council meetings, okay? And we organize the contents of the synthetic program, etc. It's like analytical program is like a 3-story building, okay? Can you imagine a 3-story building? Okay, for the analytical program. On the first floor, we have reality. We have to view reality. And with this, I'm saying that we have to take close observation, look for the student's social background. What are the students' needs? The students that we are receiving in our school. What are their interests? What's their personal characteristics? What's their academic level and their expectations? That's part of the first floor of the analytical program. The reality, viewing the reality. We are going to see also in this first floor, the community context, the economical, cultural, and social context of the community around the school or within the school. And the conditions affecting in a positive or negative way the school and its purpose. You know that the school has purpose. What is the purpose of the school? Okay, so some factors, some conditions affect in a positive or negative way the purpose of the school. Okay, on the second floor, we have the contents from the synthetic program that are related to situations that kids live, okay? So teachers make decisions on what context are they going to put in their analytical program. Contents may be of 3 forms. Content with no adjustments, and the PDA, the PDA meaning the process development of the students with no adjustment, as the synthetic program has it, you put it right there, or you write it there, right there in the analytical program, because you don't need to add anything. Then we have the contextualized contents, okay? Then we have to make some contextualization, like the word says, okay? And then we have new contents. And these new contents are the ones that are not in the synthetic program. But we think as teachers, after analyzing and reflecting and seeing the reality, we know that they are necessary to incorporate those new contents. And on the third floor of the analytical program, we have that the teacher in this stage, the teacher's hive, like the beehive, organizes the sequence, the timing, and the methodologies that he or she will do to work with the program and meet the needs and the situations, okay? So check the analytical program every school council meeting. Adjust it. Remember, it's not, we did it on the first council meeting and that's it. We're gonna stick to it until the final month, June, July, with no changes. No, you have to make adjustments according to what you're seeing in your teaching practice, okay? So in the analytical program, we have the problem situation. So when planning, we have to first identify the problem situation that is written in the analytical program, that we reflected, analyze it, and identify that problem situation. So we look for that problem situation, we identify it, and then we go to the synthetic program. And what are we gonna observe in that synthetic program? We're gonna look for the contents and the PDA. And we're gonna start thinking, okay, the contents and the PDA from the synthetic program, which one of those contents and PDA is related to the problem that we identify in the analytical program? Once we identify, oh, here it is, there's a match right here. We go to establish relationships between contents from the formative field. And the formative field, remember, teachers, is Spanish, English, and arts, and in some cases, another language that is spoken by groups that are minority in some places, okay? And in this case, I'm gonna tell you that we're gonna share this relationship. We did share it in our last session, I think. No, before we started this school year, we did share it with you, but it was from the prior synthetic program, the previous, the one that was not officially documented. Now, this has all the information, but it's official. The contents are official. They are already by in August. Remember that in August, the Ministry of Education said that we had to put this, it was official now, the contents of the synthetic program. Okay, so here we have, this is the identity and culture of the culture. Let me zoom it. Let me zoom it. There, I did it worse. There we go. Okay. So it's language diversity and its forms and expression in Mexico and the whole world. Okay, that's in English, but it relates to the content number 1 also in Spanish, that is diversity of language and the use in communication of familiar school and community. But it also is related to diversity of languages, artistic languages, and the richness of the pluricultural of Mexico and the world. So these three are aligned. And if we see, like, let's get together, let's hear, wait a minute. Okay, here. on content number 11, it says communication, assertive communication in English to sensibilize for the eradication or to eliminate violence in families and in school. That's the content number 11. Remember that I put contents by number just to organize, but it doesn't mean you have to see it in the same way, in the same order. It's up to you teachers to decide when to see it, okay? It's not up to us. We just put it to organize our things. And see, you see it here, that it's a match with Spanish on the same content, but the one of 11 in Spanish and the 11 content in art. In the 12 content we have in English, we have 2 contents in Spanish that are related to the 12 content in English and also in art, okay? So let me put escape. We will share this also with you. Sorry. Sorry. Oh, wait a minute, please. Okay, so let me repeat, just go back a little bit. So we have to establish the relationship between content. Once we do that, once we observe that, we talk to our other colleagues from the formative field, Spanish, art, and English, and we get together to reach some agreements. And these agreements will be like, why don't we work together in this content, okay? We can do a project, all the 3 of us in 1st grade, or all the 3 of us in the 3 grades, and start working with the planning of our project, okay? But you have to talk to your colleagues and for they to accept your invitation, okay? This is, I'm sharing right there, I think, a format for the agreements you reach. So you have, what is my content in Spanish that relates to English and relates to arts? Are there any additional context that the Spanish teacher would like to add? The English teacher or the art teacher? What is the PDA, the process, the learning development processes? But PDA is in Spanish, okay? What are the learning activities? It's just like to have at a glance the agreements you made, to have at a glance, okay? You don't have to write very specific like if you're planning, but just to, this is the agreement we reached that we are going to share this content number 7 in Spanish and content number 9 in English and content number 10 in arts. So when planning, what else do you have to take into account? The student's level and needs. How am I going to foster for the student to acquire vocabulary, the new vocabulary? The additions to the learning development process, PDA in Spanish, the cross-curricular topics, which are the ejes articuladores. The project, maybe name the project with an appealing name for the students to get all excited about it. What methodology am I going to use? In this case, remember, the Department of English is recommending the PBL methodology for this year. Of course, you can make your own decisions, of course, but the methodology of PBL, because this is the first time we are working with the PBL, project-based learning, and to take into account formative assessment. Now, to make a review, when planning, okay, before we start the review, when planning, any format will work as long as it has the following elements. the content or the contents. Remember that in one project, we can work with two contents, not only one content. The learning development process, the methodology, the project, the learning activities, which is very important, the timing, and the formative assessment. So any format you choose, you create, or you design will work as long as it has these elements, okay? When planning, you also have to take into account this. This is the relationship. We already shared this, but we added a new column, okay? We already shared this with you by the Ministry of Education in the state of Nueva York, which is content PDA, page of the book, okay? Multiple language, what page of the book is related to that content in PDA, and what page of the book is related about the project book. So we have it. This is for first grade, okay? This is for first grade only, but we're going to share it, and we added this new column, libros de texto gratuito, and I think it says right here, I get lost right here. It's libros de texto 2017. Because in your schools, as you already know, or you will know when you get them, you're going to receive the textbooks from the 2017 program. And you're going to say, they are useless, worthless. I can't work with this. Let's make the most out of the textbook we received, English teachers, dear colleagues. Let's make the most. We can take some information from those books and use it in our classes. And we made this for you so it will be more easier for you to identify which is related to the book that you received. I'm going to explain a bit more about this, but before I start explaining that, I would like you to know that we are going to share, this is for first grade, but we're going to share the one about second grade and the one about third grade through Facebook Red Eyes, okay? You will be receiving them, all right? So suppose you're talking about right now, let me explain here. We're talking about the language diversity and its forms and expressions in Mexico and the world. So you have from the textbook, languages, you have intercultural language diversity, page 243 to 245 in Spanish. Remember what I told you last class, that this book, all of these three books, Libro de Texto Gratuito, Múltiples Lenguajes, y Nuestro Libro de Proyectos, was in Spanish. Remember what I told you. They could serve two ways. First, you ask your students to read them before the presentation or before the new classes begins about language diversity. So the students have prior knowledge. They're gonna know more or less what you're gonna talk about in the next class, all right? The other thing that I told you, or as an advice, a suggestion, is to make a synthesis of the 2 pages from 243 to 245 in English. But it's up to you, teachers. It's up to you to use it and use your creativity and all the stuff that you have available. Now, for this content in the textbook of English, the English textbook from the program 2017, we have a topic that is called exponing information about linguistic diversity. And this is in English 1, in the English 1 textbook, okay? Because you're going to see, for example, in this content that we see right here, the culture, identity and culture of the people in English-speaking countries. You have Libro de Texto, you have multiple languages book, and you have the project book. You also have in the 2017 book, but not in the first grade. In the third grade book, you have, this is the social practice of the language, okay? It talks about habits, cultural habits from different countries, and you can match or relate that topic in that English 3 book to the content in first grade. So there are more ideas that I put here, but because of timing, I'm not going to explain all of them. All right, let me get right here. For example, here is talking about comic strips and cultural expression. This is in textbook 1 of English 1. And you have here, he elaborates a comic in English about situations where intercultural is spoken about, etc., etc. Okay, so more or less, I think you have the idea. If you have any more doubts, you can, in the chat box, put your questions there regarding this information I'm giving you right now. Okay, so when planning, also take into account the variety or the assortment of books that you have in your school, to put probably some activities in your planning related to the multiple language book, the project book, the English books from the program 2007, or from the languages formative book, okay? And now we're gonna pass the microphone and the screen to Ms. Berta Guerrero, who is going to get deeper into planning step by step. See you in a moment.
Good morning, colleagues. Today, we're going to try to clarify some doubts that you, the teachers, have expressed to use when have expressed to us when we visit your schools. Teachers have shared their concerns about how to approach the English discipline according to the new Mexican school program. The answer is that we should integrate all the information we have been receiving since the beginning of the continuous training workshops and school technical consoles. For example, I may wonder, what is the analytical program? Well, the analytical program is a strategy that allows teaching teams to contextualize national content from synthetic programs according to their school and community reality. In other words, the analytical program helps identify context-specific issues, the learning development processes by field that should be achieved at each grade level, and the projects to be carried out. So, how are we going to work with the analytical program in the English discipline? It will be done through the synthetic program. And I can ask, and what is the synthetic program? Well, the synthetic program are the national contents. We need to have all this information to work a didactic plan. And what are the national contents? Well, the national contents are the topics, concepts, skills, and knowledge that students should learn throughout their basic education. And I have another question. What are the learning development processes? Well, the learning development processes are the strategies methods and approaches used to facilitate students' learning. Therefore, we as English teachers will choose the content and its learning development processes to help us address the issue identified in the teaching team. Remember that we're talking about the issue identified in the teaching team. So now I will present an example of a community project titled Water Crisis Awareness. This project leads to the didactic plan, which was previously known as didactic planning. Well, but what will didactic planning include? We can say the name of the school, the grade, the group or the groups I'm going to work with, the teacher's name, the problem that we're going to try to work with, in this case, is water crisis awareness. The methodology, we have to take it in consideration, the time, the product. In this case, there are posters, videos, and brochures. The content and the learning process. So, the didactic planning consists of 3 phases and 11 moments, which are part of the project-based community learning method, the ABPC. Next, we will see how to integrate the 3rd grade didactic plan and observe what needs to be worked on with students. We also have the resources and the assessment methods in each phase and moment. It is essential to clarify that this format is just a suggestion. If you have a different one or want to make changes, that's not a problem. Just remember not to forget to include all the aspects that should be considered. Okay? That's very important. All right. Now let's take a look at the didactic plan, which contains the following information. Like I said before, the school name, the group to be worked with, the teacher's name, the identify issue, in this case, is water scarcity. The formative field, in this case, it is English. The formative field is language. The articulating axis, where we have included inclusion, critical thinking, and healthy life. Next is the project name, which is, the project name is Raising Awareness About the Water Crisis. It is also mentioned the methodology to be used. And since we're in the language field, we'll use the project-based community learning method. It includes the time frame for completing the project, details about the expected outcomes. In this case, we're talking about posters, videos, and brochures. Then we have the selected content. And then the chosen learning development process. And finally, the outline 3 phases and 11 moments that make up the project based community learning method. The content that we're going to work with is using English to express community needs, interests, and issues. And the learning process is organize an English language campaign about community issue solutions. Then we're going to begin with stage 1, which is planning. Remember, we have 3 stages, 3 phases, and the first one is talking about planning. Here, the problem is identify. We have to identify the problem in this stage, and an action plan is outlined. This phase consists of 3 moments. The first moment is identifying. The aim is to identify the problem that we need to be investigated, that we are going to investigate. And this lesson plan or didactic plan have activities, resources, and formative assessment. The activities for this first moment, it can be a small group discussion to identify water issues in the community. It can be in school, family, or the neighborhood. And another activity that we can do for this first moment is research to collect data and statistics on water usage in the community. For these activities, we need resources. For example, the whiteboard, the markers for recording key ideas, and for the research, we need the computers. We need computer with internet access. And what about the formative assessment? Well, here we can have a checklist, segment of participation in the discussion. Can you give me some water?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much. And let's check the second moment. This second moment is named recovering. It's the linking previous knowledge related to the content to be developed. That's what we have to do in this second moment. And one of the activities that we can work with is using the data obtained in the research, to create a bilingual glossary of terms related to water conservation. And a second activity, it can be exchange opinions on the importance of water and how it is used in everyday life. The resources for this second moment can be English, Spanish dictionary, and to work with the exchange opinions, we need an audiovisual resources such as short videos showing examples of water usage in daily life. And for formative assessment, we can use a checklist to review words related to water conservation. And for the exchange opinions, we can have a rubric, a performance rubric about how did the team work. And in the third moment, called planning, and this moment is the last part of stage 1. Remember that we have 3 stages. This third moment is called planning. Here is where we negotiate the steps to be followed and to work, and the work is planned to research the end of the project. The activities that we can work in this third moment is to create a schedule of activities for the project. And we also can design an action plan that includes the identification of necessary resources, explaining why living beings need water. The resources for this third moment, it can be a notepad to develop a schedule and the design of the action plan. And the formative assessment, it can be a review of the activity schedule and action plan to verify the feasibility and coherence. Then after these 3 moments, we're going to continue with stage 2, which is called action. Here, in this stage, productions are created to address the problem. And the activities that we can work with for this fourth moment is reading articles and news related to water scarcity in the state, in the city, in the neighborhood, or in school. Another activity can be exchange opinions on cultural differences in water perception and usage in your communities or in your school or in the classroom. The resources that we can have for this moment are journal articles, news, social media, and magazines on water scarcity topics. Or for exchange opinions, you can use an organization for teams work on the findings to be discussed. And the formative assessment that we can use in this fourth moment, use an estimation scale to access comprehension of articles and news related to water scarcity. You can use, for the exchange opinions, use a checklist to evaluate participation and contribution in the debate or in the exchange of opinions. The fifth moment is titled Comprehension and Production. Here, approaches are developed to formulate an initial approach to solve the problem. And the activities that we can work with for this moment is to develop bilingual educational materials like brochures, posters, videos, highlighting water conservation tips as a result of the debate or the discussion or the interchange of ideas in class. Another activity we can use for this moment is an oral presentation of the materials created by the teams in a plenary setting or in the discussions. And the resources that we can use in this moment are, for example, the materials for creating brochures, posters, etc., such as letter-sized papers, cardboards, markers, camera for video production. And for the oral presentation of the materials, we need classroom or spaces. It can be an auditorium. And for the formative assessment, we can be through a knowledge rubric, evaluate oral presentations, including clarity and oral expressions. Then we can talk about the sixth moment called How Are We Doing? This moment involves formulating approaches to identify progress and difficulties in the process. And the activities that we can work for this fifth moment is, for example, no, we're talking about the fifth, yeah. Let me see. Development of bilingual educational materials like brochures, posters, and videos, highlighting water conservation tips as a result of the debate. I already talked about this one, right? Yes. So we should be working with the sixth moment, right? Okay, I got confused. The sixth moment. And the sixth moment is called, how are we doing? How are we doing? And in this moment, it involves formulating approaches to identify progress and difficulties in the process. And the activities to work with for this sixth moment is the analysis of presentations to identify advances and difficulties in oral comprehension and expression. Another activity that we can work in this moment is to constructive feedback among students. And the resources that we can use in this moment are the rubrics and evaluation sheets for the review of presentations and constructive feedback. The formative assessment that you as teachers can use is a rubric to evaluate presentations, including clarity and oral expressions. Okay, if we continue with the seventh moment, this is called execution. Here, approaches are generated to create an initial version of the product. In this moment, in the seventh. In this moment, the activities are completion of the products, making sure that they are in English and Spanish. Why? Because maybe when the students are going to present the project, we can invite the community. They can be there, the parents of the students, and if they don't understand the English, so you can work with one student that say the activities in English, and another one, they can say it in Spanish. So English is for the students to practice their language, and Spanish for the parents that can be listening all the activities the students are doing. And the resources for this moment are the finished products. And the formative assessment can be a checklist. Okay. For the second activity that we can do in this moment, in the seventh moment, is preparation for the presentation of the materials to the community. Like I said it before, you can invite the parents of your students to see what are working with in class, what the students are working with. And it can be in the knowledge fair, or in the report card meeting, or in a special activity. And continue with moment 8. This moment is called, or is known as, integrating. Here, in this moment, presentation and explanations of solutions or recommendations are made. approaches are formulated, rehearsals are conducted, drafts are shared, explanations of what was done are given, feedback is received, and modifications are made. And the activities that we can work with for this moment is the integration of products to be presented at a school assembly, report card distribution, etc. And the resources that you need to work with this moment is the posters, the brochures, and audiovisual equipment. And the formative assessment, it can be a survey of the school community regarding the exhibition of products. All this is, these 4 moments are integrated in the stage number 3 called intervention. To continue with the 9th moment is focuses on spreading around the community. Here, the products are going to be presented in this 9th moment. What are the activities that I can work with? Well, you can use a presentation of the materials, which can take place at the knowledge fair, or when you have the report card distribution, or in a school assembly, etc. And the resources that you need to work in this 9th moment are the developed materials, and the formative assessment that you can use is the performance rubric for both activities, because the second activity that you can work with is the invitation to the community members to participate in water conservation related activities. Continue with the moment is number 10. Moment number 10. Remember that we have 11 moments for the planning. Is called considering other opinions. Here, follow-up and feedback are provided. And the activities that you can work with is the evaluation of feedback receiving during the presentation. And another activity is a group discussion on how to improve future projects and communication strategies. The resources, well, it can be through videos. You can use videos. And the formative assessment, it can be a checklist. And in the 11th and final moment, title notes for the next project, approaches are formulated to enable students to analyze the feedback received and use it to improve the solidified processes in future projects. And for this 11th moment, the activities that you can work with is the reflection on the results of the project and lessons learned. Remember that is the last moment of your project. Another activity that you can work with is the formulation of proposals for future projects related to environmental awareness. Here you can switch with the next project with your students. You can prepare the students for the next project. And the resources that you can use in this 11th moment are the notes on the project results and the formative assessment it can be the performance rubric. And with this 11th and final moment, we have finished the process of trying to explain how to elaborate a didactic plan. And I want to thank you for being with us this morning. And now Mrs. Chavez is going to continue with the last part of this meeting. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. I will do a recapitulation, a review of the exposition of my college. Okay. Well, I will remember you, and I suggest that when you begin your class with a motivation students, it's very important icebreaker with your students. Ask to them, how do they feel? Remember, and you will improve the vocabulary of your students with asking to your students different, how do they, with motivation in your beginning, when you're beginning your English class with your students. This I suggest. Remember, in this recapitulation, don't forget the textbook that you have from the Secretaría de Educación. Textbooks, you have the language first grade, language second grade, and language third grade. Also, you have in your English materials, that's in Spanish, the project books, and first grade, project book first grade, project book second grade, and project book third grade. You can choose an ideas about your project that you're doing, that you selected your project. You can have an ideas about this project book that Secretaría de Educación offered to you. Also, remember, in the second grade, you have a special second, you have project books, and they have opinions, and they have an ideas from newspaper reports, and you have a lot of articles from discrimination, non-violence, and etc. Also, remember, we are recapitulation, review the elements of planning: contents, learning development process, textbook, project book page, project methodology, formative assessment, learning activities. Stage of methodology, PABLC, planning, action, and intervention. Remember, planning, action, and intervention. Also, in this slide, you can have an idea about, in your project-based learning, what kind of elements you can use in your project. Could be audio, visual, verbal, writing. In the audio, you can choose a film, play, poem, song, musical, podcast, instrumental, etc. In the visual project learning, you can choose in a PowerPoint. You can choose in visual art, like a mural, animate movie, mosaic, advertising, etc. In the verbal, in your project, you can use a lesson, oral presentation, a conference, role play, demonstration, testimony. In a writing project based, we suggest in a writing and a journal, letter, newspaper, short story, graphic novel, brochure, web page, puzzles, story, etc. Okay, teachers. In the English teaching, remember, recapitulation, review, what techniques we can use in your teaching classes. Dialogue, dramatization, reading test, writing exercises dictation, teaching resources like a song, games, material, didactic material, and also you can use music, radio, TV films, programs, video games. Remember, if you don't have internet in schools, it's a lot of opportunity that you can solicit to your students in a homework. In a homework, they can watch. Most of the students we have internet at home, and they can see or watch programs, television, music, radio, films, video games in English, and you can evaluate this homework with your students. It's very important. Okay, I will give it to you in this presentation a lot of English material that you can see with this QR. There will be in your presentation, could be in red eyes, Okay, you can be in red eyes. Yeah, is it the way that this academy to offer this kind of materials, and we are very grateful for your time and your attention. Thanks a lot. We hope that this material be aid for you in your teaching classes, in your English language that you are teaching in your English class. Thanks again, and take care, everyone. Have a nice day. And we are now in November, we know, but the next month is December. We wish the best in the next month. Thanks a lot. And it was a pleasure to talk to you in this few minutes. Thank you very much. Ms. Medellin, it will continue with this presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Chavez. Thank you, Ms. Chavez. Thank you, Berta Guerrero. Thank you so much for all your support. Remember, this is for you as teachers, this is the work we do as a team in English, as the Department of English. We do. It's a team effort, a teamwork, okay? Before we finish, let me give you some announcements. First of all, like Ms. Chavez said and Ms. Berta Guerrero said, thank you for your kind attention, all right? And the images used in this presentation are not the property of the speakers, none of us, nor the people that made this presentation, which is also the three of us. And some of the images used here were taken from freepic.com. Okay, I have to give credit to that site, all right? And this is, before we continue, let's start. Remember, to review, we have the synthetic program, we have contents and PDA there. Then we have the analytical program. Okay, in the analytical program is a document, a work document that you do in your school council meeting. And in there, you pick up, you analyze situations, first floor, second floor, and third floor. And remember that from there, you pick up the problem situation for you to work with in the planning that Ms. Berta was explaining in so much detail, okay? So use the synthetic program to match and do the relationship with the problem situation you identify in your school that is special in your school, okay? And once you do that, you go and talk to you establish the relationship within the other within the formative field, which is languages, with the art teachers and with the Spanish teachers. And once you do that, all right, you can start like agreeing with your partners and saying, why don't we work together with this? And then you get, you do the agreements, you settle, well, this content, and this content, and this will be my product, my producto integrado, okay? And then you start planning individually, okay? You start planning individually like Ms. Berta Guerrero explained, okay, in her example that you can use. We will share 2 planning formats as well, but remember, like Ms. Berta and I said, it's up to you to select the format. Only you have to remember the elements that are required in the planning format, all right? All right, and now we go to the other slide, okay? Here, you have some options, okay, to register your participation and attendance to this English teacher meeting, to this second English teacher meeting. You have the QR, where you scan it with your telephone, okay, or iPad or tablet that you have. You scan it, and there will be they will collect your information from where are you from, what school are you working, the name, etc., etc. This is essential for you to fill out, dear teachers, because the department here takes information and gives it to your supervisor or inspector. So you have from now, from today, to up till the last day of November. If you don't see it right now, you can see it later on, this presentation on the YouTube Redais Nuevo León, and scan this QR code to fill out the survey. It's a survey about what do you think of this presentation, etc., and give your name and your school number and the name of the school zone, etc. And also to give us your opinion on what else do you need? What information do you need so we can prepare a presentation for our next session, okay? On the things you need as teachers in practice. So you have until November to do it, okay? Now, then we have option number 3, which is to copy that link and to register your participation, your attendance, and the survey, And also, within this presentation in the chat room, Ms. Lorena helped us put the link, so you could copy the link from your telephone or from your computer and click it and start filling out your attendance. And this ends our presentation for today. Remember that you have the presentation will be forever and ever and ever on YouTube Redais Nuevo León, but you have only until November to register your attendance. So thank you very much for your kind attention and see you next session. Bye-bye.